everybody, and good morning. I am gonna get this beef in this crock pot. Some of you have asked me about this before. It is so neat. It's like a 9x13 style crock pot with the lid that clips onto the side, which I can show you in a minute. This was my mother-in-law's. When her mother, James's grandmother, passed away, she had one as well. So, and hers was, I don't even know if she'd used it. So my mother-in-law passed along one of them to me. So I'm thankful to have this. I really like it. It's fun. It's different for a crock pot. So let's see here. All right, back to what I was saying. I'm gonna put these two beef round steaks in this crock pot. These are not very big, you can see, and they're not very thick. So I'm gonna do two of them. James loves beef. He loves beef roast, so that will be great for leftovers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm making tonight, you guys, dill pickle pot roast. Crock pot dill pickle pot roast. What in the world? I agree, what in the world? But we're gonna try it. It got my interest. We're gonna give it a shot. So here we go. Okay, you guys, I got my roast in my crock pot. This is so simple. It calls for like 4 ingredients. The roast, some ranch dressing, some brown gravy, but I only have au jus, and some pickles. Dill pickle pot roast has got to have pickles. Now, these are the baby cornichons. I think that's what they're called. So they're kind of a little bit sweet, a little bit dill. That's kind of how I describe them anyway. They're not super, super sweet, but they're definitely not dill. The recipe said use whatever kind of pickles you want. So this is what I'm going to use. So it calls for 4 pounds of beef to 1 pack each of these seasonings and dressing mixes. So this one you can tell I already had open, so I've used half of this. So I'm gonna go on with half, and I think I'm only gonna do half of the ranch dressing. Sometimes I find these recipes to be very salty, and I don't have any of the reduced sodium anythings, so I'm gonna do half of the ranch. And I feel like that will probably be enough. Let me see, half. A little bit more. Okay, so half the ranch, and probably a little bit more than half was in that au jus. You do you. I'll link the recipe below. You may want all of the seasonings in there, but this is kind of what I'm going to go for. And then it says the juice and the pickles from a 24-ounce pickle jar. So basically 12 ounces of pickle juice and 12 ounces of pickles. So I'm just doing all this. This is probably more than necessary, but... And then mine has all of these seasonings down here in the bottom, so I'll put those in. And so honestly, if you're freaking out thinking, what in the world? It's really gonna be similar, I would say, we'll see, to like the Mississippi pot roast. You're gonna have a similar maybe flavor profile, I would say, because it takes the banana peppers and the juice. So this one doesn't call for butter, so I'm doing it just like it called for, only I cut the ingredients down just a little bit. Okay, let's get the lid on this. And here's the lid. It's got these little clippy things that you can hook over the sides and kind of seal it on and carry it so easy. So there we go, guys, dill pickle pot roast. We're gonna see what this thing is all about. So stay tuned. I'll be sure to tell you. This is just gonna go low and slow in the crock pot all day. Again, look below for the link to this recipe. All right, you guys, here it is. It's been going all day long. There are the roasts in here, and let's just see. Yes, just falling apart tender. Sorry, you hear my microwave in the background. So I'm just gonna go in here like this. I could probably use my twist and chop and kind of do that, but I think I'm just gonna break this up. That way we can scoop up some of this yummy broth with the beef. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be so good. Now, I don't know if we, we'll see. I don't know if we necessarily eat the pickles along with it, but I'm gonna give it a try. Let's see what they taste like. I know when we do the Mississippi roast and we use the peppers, we Hang on. We do eat the peppers, of course. And then this fat, of course, this just comes right off. So this smells so good. I will say it does smell like the Mississippi pot roast. Smells delicious, so I will update you. All right, I've got it plated up here. I put some of the little pickles on there with it. I'm telling you, it smells so, so good. I'm anxious to try it. I put some of the broth and the gravy over the potatoes. And lucky enough, last night we had enough of the carrot casserole and mashed potatoes left that I didn't have to make sides to go with this. So that worked out perfectly. So I'm anxious to try this. I wanted to come on here and say that we love this so, so much. It was very flavorful. I loved the pickles in there. They tasted really good. The broth was really tangy and just really had a lot of flavor. It did remind us of the Mississippi pot roast, only you don't have to use the butter and you're using the pickles instead. So you really want to give this one a try. Right, here's what we're starting with for tonight's dinner, smoked knackwurst, if I'm saying that right. James and I were in Aldi together and he said, I need some German food. I think that sounds so good. So we picked that up. I already had this German style sauerkraut at home. And here is what he wanted. He wanted the sausages with sauerkraut. Now, quote unquote German food. I am not claiming that this is, necessarily perfect German style food, but I'll just say it's our version. So we like it when Aldi has those German items, and these were really, really tasty. I've bought these before. So simple. Basically treat it like you would a smoked sausage or a kielbasa. He wanted them cut up into medallions like this. I just sauteed them in a little bit of bacon fat. Once they got a little bit of color on, I dumped in my sauerkraut. Now, I don't like it real sour, so I drained off all the juice and then filled it up about halfway with water. That cuts down on the sour factor. If that's something that you don't prefer, that's one way to take care of that. Also, adding in some brown sugar is a great way to add in a little bit of additional different flavor, and it kind of tames down the sour. But I didn't do that this time around. I just did salt and no salt. I just added pepper and let these kind of cook together, and you can add in water as necessary as it starts reducing down. If you want it to cook a little bit longer, just pour in some more water. So this is so quick, so easy, delicious food that comes together quickly. It also doesn't break the bank. And James wanted mashed potatoes to go with this tonight, so I peeled up some potatoes, got those boiling up, and made mashed potatoes, and that was dinner. It was delicious. He took the leftovers for lunch the next day and was a happy camper. I think you can tell that this is going to be good just by looking at the color of that gravy. Oh my goodness. So a can of cream of chicken, a can of cream of mushroom, and the package of the French onion recipe mix. Of course, I added a little bit of salt, very little bit, and some pepper. Oh my goodness, yes, this was delicious. So I followed the instructions on the back of that little packet somewhat, and I kind of knew I wanted to do pork tenderloin with this. And so what I did, of course, you saw me mix those things together. I put some on the bottom of this sprayed. I'm using this 9x13 cooker again. So after I put down some of the gravy mix, I put the pork tenderloin on top. I just went ahead and sliced that up. Some of these end pieces were kind of small. It kind of got narrower at one end, but that's okay. Doesn't really matter. And then in between that, I went ahead and added some more of the gravy mix and some actual French fried onions. And that kind of gave a little bit of a separation between this next layer. Now, I could have put the whole pork tenderloin in there, mixed this up, poured it over the top, but I really wanted it to be already ready to be served. I was taking this to my mom and dad's to celebrate my dad's 83rd birthday, and so I wanted these to already be sliced up, so all we had to do is just take a piece out and put it on our plate. So pepper, I'm going in with that, and then I'm just topping this off and just kind of eyeballed it. I was going along so I would have kind of an even amount of the gravy throughout the whole dish. And then I topped it off with the French onion, actual French onions again, the French fried onions, and put the lid on and baked it. I think the package said, or somewhere that I looked for how long this would need to go, it was about 3 to 4 hours on high, and that was about right. Like I said, this was so delicious, very flavorful, very tender. It was a big hit. All right, guys, I am making carrot casserole tonight to go along with our dinner. I first had carrot casserole a few years ago. My daughter-in-law, Abigail, made it and brought it to, I think it was a church fellowship meal the first time, and it was so good. I had never heard of anything like it, or had it, of course, so I was really anxious to try it, and it was really, really good. So that's what I am making to go with our dinner tonight. I don't have her exact recipe. I could have definitely called her and gotten it, but I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna see what I can find online that looked similar to hers. And then I actually went to 2 of my Amish cookbooks and looked at some of their recipes, and just kind of did a little research. Do y'all do that when you're, goodness gracious. Do y'all do that when you're getting ready to make something? I will sometimes cross-reference, you know, a couple recipes just to kind of see what's what. Helps me to kind of get my mind around the recipe a little bit more. And anyhow, I ended up deciding on my Mennonite cookbook that I have, and then I found one online that I really like. And I think I'm going to go by it a little bit more. The Mennonite cookbook, I think it calls for carrots, butter, cheese, and Ritz crackers. This other one calls for a few more ingredients, but it's basically the same thing. So the idea here is to get these peeled and cut into pieces, and then you want to cook this on the stove until they get tender but not falling apart, and that's going to help them bake so much quicker. So these are ready now to go in the pan to boil on the oven for a little bit, or boil on the stovetop till they get soft for just a little bit. Here is the recipe for the carrot and cheese casserole. Like I said, it just has a few ingredients: 2 pounds of carrots, butter, Velveeta, and breadcrumbs. That one is super simple. The one that I am following, I will have linked below. It is called Carrot Casserole from Numbs the Word is the website, so I will have that linked below. And of course, I'm going to show you as I make it to see if there's some variations. Sometimes that happens, as you well know. But yeah, let's just keep chugging away on this carrot casserole. Okay, the recipe says cook the carrots till they're about half done. Not super soft, but not super crunchy. So I think that's the stage that I'm at right now. So I'm going to remove these to the bottom of my casserole dish per the recipe instructions. Okay, the recipe calls for a whole stick of butter. For basically, we're making a roux, but I just don't feel like I have as much carrots as the recipe called for. It said 2 pounds or 12 large carrots. I had 12, but they weren't, I don't think, very large. So I think I'm going to cut back a little bit on the butter. I'm just making a roux, which is the butter, salt, pepper, flour. If I feel like I don't have enough of a roux, by the time it's time to put my milk in or whatever, I can add more butter, I feel like. I don't think I'm going to need to. So let's get in the flour here. Recipe calls for 1/4 cup. pan runs very hot. Of course, after it's been cooking, it's already warmed up. So I've got my heat turned way back. Next in go a half a cup of onions. Next in we've got some salt. Pepper, and a half teaspoon of ground mustard. Now we're stirring in the milk. It calls for 2 cups. I'm cutting back to 1. Let me see here if I think this looks sufficient. Yeah, I think this is going to be fine. I'll have the whole recipe below for you to check out as usual. It also calls for a cup of sharp cheddar cheese. So I have sharp cheddar, and I'm just going to do 1 big handful here. Like I said, I am cutting back a little bit, so that's probably close to being a full cup, but let's just see what we got going. Yes, this is looking good. I'm going to let this melt down, and we will pour this over the carrots. Okay, we have the sauce all poured down over top of the carrots. My butter kind of browned a little bit, so I guess we could call this in a brown butter sauce. I already tasted the sauce and it tastes delicious. Now we just need to put our topping on. Since I somewhat halved the recipe, I just did a half a sleeve of Ritz crackers, a couple tablespoons of butter. I'm gonna get this over the top. Yeah, half was plenty instead of the whole sleeve. Good call, good call. Okay. Sprinkle a little bit of parsley on the top for color, and this goes in the oven. And since mashed potatoes have made an appearance multiple times in this video, I thought I would tell you how I make my mashed potatoes. I have, but it's been a long time. I just peel them up, slice them up, put some water over them, put in a little bit of salt, and boil them until they're tender. Once I drain the water off, I put in a little bit of butter. I like to use a hand mixer to get mine mixed up. I don't always do that, but that's pretty much what I do about 99% of the time. And then evaporated milk. That is my very favorite way to make mashed potatoes. All right, look at this carrot casserole, you guys. It was so good. And then I also made some cream style corn. James had mentioned wanting some of that. I don't like that as much. It's not my favorite, but he loved it, so I made that for him. And then this is his plate, the carrot casserole. If you make anything in this recipe, make the carrot, or in this video rather, make the carrot casserole. It is so delicious. The flavors are so good. James said, you know, this is a delicious casserole. We should have it more often. He really liked it. There's the delicious pork tenderloin, the French onion tenderloin, with a little bit of that gravy over the mashed potatoes. This meal was so good. These last 2 meals that I'm going to show you were quick meals, very quick. That's what I needed for these nights. But just because they were quick does not mean that they lacked in flavor or weren't just as delicious as the rest of the meals, because they were. Okay, in my pan here, I have sliced up a white onion. I'm letting that saute, and then that roll of ground beef. It's a pound roll. It was partially frozen, just a little bit still, so that enabled me to slice through it. And I wanted some thicker slices because I'm making a maybe a hamburger steak type of scenario. You can see that I'm heavily seasoning here. I used garlic powder and onion salt, and then I'm also going in, this was the fun ingredient, I am using some steak sauce, and this is like the Walmart version of A1, and I put that over the top. I just let those cook low and slow over those onions, and then I put a slice of cheese on top of each patty. Just let that melt down, and we just served the hamburger patty or hamburger steak with the onions, cheese on top, and then I just cooked up a can of these green beans. I put some onion and some bacon grease down in there to season that up. They were delicious. Like I said, I needed something quick, and this did not disappoint. We had 2 of our little grandsons here, and I'm making their plates. They devoured this. They thought this was so good, and felt like steak almost to them. And again, just so good. And I think the steak seasoning in there really gave this such really great added flavor. We even pulled out our fine china for this night, and leave a comment down below. Do you eat green onions from the garden like this, just raw along with your meal? Delicious. Right, if I were handing out first place ribbons, this would get it for me. This was my favorite meal of the whole entire week, and I'm going to tell you why. One of these hot dogs was off the chain. So good. Okay, chili sauce, heated up in the microwave. Easy peasy. Air fryer. I did these beef uncured hot dogs in the air fryer. And I used this Kinder's Honey Hot Barbecue Sauce on 3 of them, just for fun. Oh my goodness gracious, you guys. Those hot dogs were the bomb. Now, I first saw this idea from Megan. Her channel is Megan's Kitchen. Go check her out. She has wonderful what's for dinner videos. And she shared one time that they like to put barbecue sauce on their hot dogs. And I tried it once before this, but I think maybe it was the Kinder's Honey Hot that took it over the top for me this time. It was good the last time. This time, I just could not get over how good that was. I've pulled out all the things that we might want on our chili dogs, chili cheese dogs, however we end up making them, and I put it all out. And then I had some slaw left over from a couple days before when I had made this. So it was perfect timing. And then our side was pickle ranch chips and some French onion dip. Never mind, I've got my grocery stuff back there that I didn't put away. Okay, the hot dog, that's the chili cheese dog with onion and mustard. This one with the honey hot barbecue from Kinder's, 1 line of horseradish sauce, and slaw. Blew my mind. It was so good. I'm not exaggerating. It was so good. I cannot wait to have that again. Pick up those things and try that hot dog, and I promise you, you will love it. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've gotten some good inspiration from this video. I had fun making it. We had great food all throughout. We loved everything that we had. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you've not. And I'll see y'all the next time. Good Lord willing and the creek don't rise.